Let's get into some fun stuff.
For
Can
sure,
we get into
for
some
sure.
fun stuff? Because this is, I've learned, I felt your pain. I've apologized this episode.
Yeah.
This is fucking gold. So let's get into our fun game of
Top five.
Top
just this
five.
All time when I
So
walk in.
me knowing you, I know you have a passion for R&B music.
Yeah.
I felt like we could have went top 5 DJs. We could have went top 5 songs and something that just it describes you. But I want everybody to hear these episodes and maybe they know. I doubt it, but let's say they knew everything that we talked about today already. I want to give them something different. So I'd like to discuss our top 5 greatest R&B artists. I say of all time. I say like just overall, but you can do your personal list. You can make it an overall list, however you feel. I want to give our top 5, and I want to start with your honorable mention, and I'll give you mine and why, and we'll go back and forth, and then we'll work our way up the top 5.
Sure.
All right.
So I will preface this by saying mine's going to be my personal top 5. I grew up with R&B music. I mean, 90s R&B, mostly R&B because we couldn't really listen to hip hop. I listened to a little bit of Tupac growing up, but I'm talking your Brandy and Monica and SWV.
Yeah.
TLC, Boys to Men was huge in my. Donnell Jones was huge. You know, Soul for Real, Tevin Campbell, things like that. That's what I grew up with. So R&B definitely has a place in my heart. So you want me to start off with my honorable mention? My honorable mention, and I feel like this might be controversial.
Oh shit.
But I would put Justin Timberlake.
I love JT.
I know people will say, "Oh, but he's white." You know?
That better not be a factor. That's something we should have talked about. We'll have another episode on race, but
I feel like he makes R&B music.
Yeah.
He makes popular R&B music.
Yeah,
you got
absolutely.
Timbaland and Pharrell being your producers.
yeah. JT all the way.
so
I
I put him
respect
in
that
R&B.
honorable mention.
I put him in R&B.
I can't dispute that. He's absolutely an R&B artist, and fuck those people who say, "Oh, he's white." Fuck that. I
just
hate,
feel like that's how they disqualify him from being, because
so
I think R&B music, I feel like the overall idea of that is you have to be black. You know, I feel like that's otherwise it's just pop music. You know, in my mind,
what do you consider Ed Sheeran?
I think he
The fuck?
I think he could do anything. Yeah, what is? I mean, he's pop.
He's so amazing.
He's pop, but he has some of the best R&B music
He
there
does.
is. You know,
He
there are
does.
some songs. You know, like "Thinking Out Loud," I think is an R&B song.
Absolutely.
It's
I love
really
it.
slow R&B song.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd put him. You know, I wouldn't say he's an R&B singer necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him R&B artist, but he makes
Yeah,
great
because
R&B
he does
music.
too much of the other stuff. Justin Timberlake, I had to put up there. He has one of probably my favorite song of all time. That's not my favorite artist of all time, which I'll talk about later, I'm sure. "My Love" by Justin Timberlake is probably my favorite song of all time, outside of my number one artist in this category. I'd say that's probably top 3 of my favorite songs of all time. So I feel like what he brought to the table, what he did from coming from NSYNC. You know, NSYNC I wouldn't consider R&B at all.
Is that a genre then, boy band? Because I feel like it's a genre.
It probably could be. But it's pop music.
They did
you know.
pop and R&B music.
Pop it, yeah, they did. I mean, "Gone," that's an R&B song.
Shit's fire.
Fire R&B song.
It
That was
is.
actually. Did you know that was actually supposed to go to Michael Jackson?
Get the fuck out.
He wrote that for Michael Jackson. Justin Timberlake wrote that.
Oh, JT wrote it.
Wrote it
Okay,
and
nice.
produced it for Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson said no.
Damn.
But yeah, just side note.
Okay. So that's
my honorable-
I love
honorable
that.
mention.
My not an honorable mention, which will be controversial to some people, who I don't feel has earned not any accolades. He's just not. He can't be. He shouldn't be in anybody's top 5 R&B artists of all time. I love him. I listen to his music. I don't feel that Chris Brown should be in anybody's top 5 R&B artists of all time. And I did a poll the other day on Snapchat, who's the best R&B artist of all time, and I got I would say 90% of people said Chris Brown, so they gave him number 1. And I don't think he should be in anybody's top 5.
Why?
Because he is definitely what pop music is. He is dancing, he is singing, but it's all upbeat, it's all fast. He's got some slow cuts, but those cuts aren't iconic as R&B. Like the rest of my list all have iconic R&B songs, iconic R&B albums, or they blur the lines between pop and R&B so much you can call them either or. I just don't feel that he
is
should be in
controversial,
anybody's
bro.
top 5.
What about like Yo? That's an iconic song.
It's like the new. I feel like that song will expire.
You think?
Yeah, maybe
Man.
Forever won't expire, but that's not really
Forever.
R&B.
Yeah, that's more a beat, like you're saying. I think
The,
Well, that's
the
tough.
people that
That's
I
tough.
got
That's
have
tough.
songs that I promise you can agree won't expire.
okay, fair. Man, but he's still doing it. I mean, he's still making hits.
He's still amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
He's
I
just
didn't
not
expect
R&B for me.
that came out of left field for me.
It's not R&B for me.
Because Take You Down is another big one.
Is it iconic? Is it gonna last forever?
Ask the Girls.
Yeah, there might be some children here thanks to that
would say
song
there's probably
that will
some
beg the difference.
people being born today that came from that song.
Okay, all right.
Or Say Goodbye. You know, that's another. With Step Up and whatnot. I mean, there's so many more down the road. I feel like With You.
I do love With You.
Yeah,
That is a beautiful
there's
song.
that's tough, man.
But
That's tough.
it's not-
I'm not
it's not
disagreeing
gonna
with you.
last forever.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. I'm gonna
Fair enough.
start the 5 and
Okay.
then let you answer. You're the
Sure.
guest. You're the star today. My number 5, and I feel like this number is disrespectful for the Queen, Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston.
Of
Okay.
all time, number 5 goes to Whitney Houston.
Fair.
Who is, or do you have any dispute, or who is your
Well,
number
here's
5?
what I could probably say something that's very controversial because there was something I was thinking about this is probably like 2 months ago. I thought about putting a post up.
I used to
asking-
love when you used to do those posts where you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
the trivia.
and I will probably get into that again. I just got to do a better format, figure it out. But
Podcast.
my question was gonna be, who's a better artist, Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey? Now, I'm not saying singer. I'm saying artist.
Yeah. Because
right?
artist is a brand and it's business to it.
Yep.
And then when you say it like that as artist and not singer,
Yeah.
I look at accolades.
Yeah.
Who's
Okay.
done more?
Okay.
Who's
Fair.
more consistent?
Fair.
Who could come back right now and make a hit?
Okay.
If dead or alive.
Right,
And I
right.
would say Mariah can.
Mariah, yeah. So I think it's not even close. Mariah. The reason is because my version of an artist is somebody that makes the music. Mariah produced her music. Whitney just sang the songs, and she did it better than anybody in history, right? But I knew people were going to be like, well, it's Whitney.
I don't like the hands down comment, bro.
I think it's not,
like,
I'm not saying hands down. I'm just saying it's not even close in my opinion.
that's hands down. I don't like that. It's
Whitney
like, what do
just
you-
got handed a piece of paper and sang the songs better than anybody in
and
history.
hand that
and that's
same
something.
piece
And that's
of
something.
paper to a million other people.
Right. I'm not neglecting that, but now we're talking about best singer, right? Not artist. I feel like Mariah's more of an artist. She produced the music. She had more to say, and that music went to #1 more than anybody else in the 90s.
But if we're using artists as brand, Whitney and the movies that
And a
she
brand,
was in,
I mean, yeah.
were
I
are
guess
everlasting.
it's your definition of what an artist is.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'll give you that.
She was able to transition
but I just feel
and
like,
move back and
you
forth
know,
as well.
another controversial thing would be like Eminem.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're not talking about hip hop artists
Yeah.
right now, but you know, people don't realize
They don't
that he
respect
produced
him.
a lot of his music. He produced it. Like
didn't
a lot
know
of
that.
his first albums, he was the producer. He had help. He was collaborating, but most of it was beats that he had come to the table with.
I did not know that.
But they disrespect him because he's white and a rapper
he
and all
definitely
that.
gets way too much
He
disrespect.
gets
just
so
for
much
being
hate
white.
when he's probably the best
He's
lyricist
I would say
ever.
#1.
You know,
Yeah.
I always say if I needed somebody to write me a verse to save my life,
It's him. With
Eminem.
No, with hands
I
down.
don't think
without a
I
doubt.
could even
Can't
think of
miss.
anybody else.
He-
You know,
out of
I mean,
all
it's-
his albums, I felt like there's only one that missed. No, I will say 2, and one of them I still have listened to and can respect the lyricism.
yeah.
But he's #1.
I know he
on
just gets
mine.
hate. You know,
They hate him because it's cool. At this point.
at this point. But anyways, we can go into that too.
Yeah.
But
all right,
but
number 5. Who's your number?
So
5?
my number 5 is Tevin Campbell.
I love Tevin.
He, like I said, it's my personal list. I remember, you know, cleaning the house during the mornings or afternoons or whenever, and you know, you'd have all those songs. You know,
Can we
talk? Round and Round is probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite song of his.
Almost forgot that one.
But I mean, he has Uncle Sam. I mean, he has so many, and he was produced by Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
You know, Quincy Jones was a big popular, and that's probably part of it because he was kind of promoted as the next Michael, and he kind of had that high pitched falsetto voice and whatnot. But this music alone, like I find myself listening like his first, second album, and then even like those would have been like 90 and 91 or 90 and 92 or something like that. And then like 95 and 96 he came out with some albums, and we would rock those too, you know. So for me personally, he has to be up there. I think just from a vocal and then the songs that I just love from him.
I can agree on a personal level. I literally listen to Powerline songs.
Powerline,
almost, daily
Goofy
with
movie,
my
fire.
daughter. Me and my daughter watched it like all summer.
Absolutely. Eye to Eye is the
yes. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Stand Out, God, yeah. So I'm a big Tevin Campbell fan. Definitely would put him on my personal list, but I wouldn't put him on the all 5 for everybody. I just don't think the body of work is there.
Well, that's why it's personal, because I don't think he has enough that people know about. Yeah. But I think if people went in and dug into the 4 or 5 albums that he did have, I think you're gonna find quality in a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay. My number 4, Luther Vandross.
Oh, you're going okay.
Yeah, I'm all
you're going grown man on me.
Yeah.
Luther, man, my dad loved Luther Vandross. So I gotta respect that. I can't even knock it. For me, I think I do feel like it was an older, like quality of music, maybe. But man, I think there was I did a wedding gig, and they put a couple Luther Vandross songs on there to play, right? Yeah. And it made me, I start searching for these songs, and then I go into other songs, and you go into other songs, or then you find songs that were sampled by this, and then all of a sudden I'm like, man, this guy had hits. You know what I mean? So I can't knock that. He's not on my list, but that's not, like I said, mine's personal. So it's people that affected me. But yeah, I love that. Luther Vandross, respect. Mine is Usher for number 4.
Okay.
The longevity. Mostly. Yeah. And then the moment that My Way came out, or the moment that 8701 came out, or
that
Confessions.
Brings you to that moment. I think Confessions might be the greatest R&B album ever made.
I think at least this side of the century.
Yeah.
At least that. I mean, Stevie Wonder might have something to say about it. Prince might have something to say.
Maybe.
I respect, but I think having that 3 album run, and personally, my favorite is 8701. Yeah. I know that's controversial. Confessions.
I think that's my favorite as well.
That's probably my favorite.
Confessions, I think, is a better album, but my personal favorite that connected to me, that I have more moments with in my life, 8701.
I don't put as much value in a comprehensive like storytelling album like Confessions was. It was kind of about one theme mostly. I don't put a lot of value into that necessarily in my personal. Yeah. I understand what, when you have a theme album like that, I get it. But I just like the music on 8701 better. Yeah. Whereas like Confessions, I feel like there's probably 10 songs in the middle of Confessions that all kind of sound similar. Yep. Whereas Usher, obviously classic song, iconic song. Yep. A lot of the Caught Up, another one. Burn, another one. He had bangers, but it was 8701, My Way, and Confessions. That 3 album run right there like signifies a lot of my memories as a kid. So I had to put him at number 4.
So my number 3 is actually, and I stole this from somebody else after telling them they can't do it. I'm like, well, I'm the host, so I can do it. My number 3 is actually Usher and Prince.
Usher and Prince. Oh, you put 2?
They're my number 3.
Oh, that ain't right. You can't do that.
I'm making the rules.
You can't
I can break the rules.
Okay, fine.
Usher for the same reasons, and I felt like it touched my life, and it's just a part of my life. Usher is a part of my life, and Prince was a part of my upbringing, but the iconicness and the movie, the short films, he was ahead of his time, and just he's a person. His music just really. It shapes who you become.
Absolutely. Yeah, Prince, for sure. Prince, for me, he's actually my 3rd. It was about the level of artistry at his performances.
Playing all instruments.
The fact that he could play every single instrument, he has to be top 3 entertainers of all time. Yeah. If you say otherwise, then you are wrong. Yep, sorry.
Facts. I just did top 5 performers, and he definitely is.
He has to be. He has to be at least top 3.
Without a doubt.
But yeah, just like you said, I mean, he had, he was maybe a little bit more flamboyant than what maybe I would have liked a performer to be, or maybe more,
God, imagine how he'd sell now.
Yeah,
That it's so
yeah,
widely accepted, as it should
yeah.
have always been. But like now,
and,
man.
And the content of a lot of his music, I can understand why people may not put him on their list. But
yeah, as an R&B artist, I can get why.
But when you think of like Purple Rain, or one song,
best
Seven
R&B songs of all time.
Seven.
Oh, Seven. I love
mean,
that song,
you think of songs like that, and actually he produced Round and Round by Tevin Campbell. Yeah. But like he's in the video as well. But it's I think the whole battle that the media made between him and Michael in the 80s made both of them better.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if we'd talk about Prince as much as if Michael wasn't a thing, and I don't think we talk about Michael as much if Prince wasn't a thing.
Nah,
I mean, maybe I'm just trying to be unbiased, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think they both brought the best out of each other.
Yeah. You ever hear him talk about when Michael asked him to be on Bad?
Yeah. I'm not saying your butt is mine. I'm not saying that.
You know the shit we already get. Are we just gonna act like?
Yeah. Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip of Prince and MJ on the same stage with James Brown?
What?
Prince made a fool of himself.
What?
He got out there and you have to look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But he was like climbing on stuff and it ended up breaking something because he's just trying to outdance and outperform Michael. And Michael's just over there. He does a little, Michael does his little smoothness.
Yeah.
And then Prince is just trying to like put him under the dirt, and ends up making a fool of himself.
It's like, I'll fuck the chandelier right now. Dare me.
Yeah.
No one's daring you, Prince. You don't have to do that.
Look it up. I think it was like James Brown's birthday, and this was probably in the 80s. It might have been like mid 80s, something like that. But look it up. Yeah, it's Prince. Like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah. All right. So the same number 3.
Yep. Pretty much.
Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is your honorable mention, Chris Brown.
What?
Yep.
Above Prince?
Yeah.
How
once
many
again,
years
personally,
active? How many years active is Chris?
Chris, he started in 2005.
Okay.
So it's been
18 years. So that is a longevity.
It's long.
And then with our age, I can.
That's the only reason he's more relatable to he helped form my musical taste.
Wow. Okay.
Essentially, a lot of it was like early 2000s music when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But then I think Chris Brown came out in 2005, and it was funny because I hated Run It right away because I felt like
I love with Jewels.
I was like,
I thought it'd be that one hit.
Yeah.
I thought he got signed to Def Jam.
I was like, look at this wannabe Usher.
Threw people together. Yeah.
And then so I was like, look at this wannabe Usher. And then Yo came out was the next one, and I was like, this is different. This is different. Like, okay. And I was liking it, and then Give Me That was the next one.
Yeah. You mean that?
Yeah.
That's what makes him a pop
that's
artist.
The one that took me. That's the one that took me away, because that's probably my favorite song of his of all time.
Still?
Is Give Me That. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But then, as we talked about before, I think when we're talking R&B, I don't think you could tell the story of R&B in the 2000s without mentioning his name.
Okay.
That's kind of what I would say, because yes, he's genre blending, just like Michael was, just like Prince was.
Yep.
But I think when you just take his R&B songs, you can't tell me there's not a better R&B singer or song creator in this era.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at, and it's just my era.
Absolutely.
It's just my era.
Yep.
So
song creator, I'd probably give between him and T-Pain, which even T-Pain expired.
Right.
He had his time.
Yep.
And Chris Brown is still going.
He's still going.
I absolutely respect that now. I needed that perspective of it.
Yeah.
But I respect that. All right, my number 2. Damn, your number 2 is Chris Brown.
I know.
And my number 2 is Michael Jackson.
Number 2, Mike. Okay.
Who people say is more of a pop artist, but man, them R&B songs, Butterflies.
Play Rock With You one time.
Me and my grandma's song, You Are Not Alone.
You Are Not Alone.
The most beautiful.
Absolutely.
Ballad
his last number 1
ever. And
absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
I think I know who your number 1 is now.
Yep.
I was.
I think I get to give mine first. Did we lose the order? Because you gave Chris Brown was your number 2, right?
Chris Brown's number 2.
Okay, so I was supposed to go. So now I'll give my number 1 then.
Okay.
It's the person who wrote "You Are Not Alone."
Yeah.
Controversy or not?
Yeah.
R. Kelly is the greatest R&B artist of all time.
Okay.
Not the greatest person. Not in the list.
No, absolutely not. So man, this could get controversial. So, especially for me, this is gonna get controversial because of how people know who I love. But my problem with R. Kelly, crazy talent. I mean, some of the biggest songs ever, at least since the 90s, have R. Kelly written all over it, right? My problem with his music is a lot of it is about the stuff that he was doing.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, I got to separate the man from the music, but when you go there, oh, fuck
right.
yeah, this is disgusting.
That's what's tough. I mean, he has a song called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute.
Married the girl and wrote
you know,
the album. Yeah, it's disgusting.
So, I mean, yes, I can separate the man from the music, but when the music is the man, it's hard to do that. Especially when you hear my number one, you're going to have the same controversy. But that's my problem. So I made the personal decision to not play any R. Kelly at any of my shows anymore, unless it's recorded at a, you know, I know victims of child abuse and sexual abuse that are very close to me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I can't ever understand, you know, and once again, I try to do that separation, but when you're saying the stuff in the music, you know, your body's calling.
The
wait a
Pied
minute,
Piper
you know?
shit. Like when you look into that, like, oh fuck, he's just putting it right in your fucking face.
I mean, when
like,
we're just talking, if we say, you know, we put a different face and person on this music, like that music in it is by itself alone, like the catalog that he has. But it's just hard when you know that the guy that wrote the stuff was doing some of the stuff that he's talking about. Right. And that's where my issue is.
It in your face.
Yeah, that's where my issue is.
I feel you.
So, I got to respect it. I mean, from a musician to musician, like like I said, when you take that away.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm able to separate it, because artist Tone the Boss is way different from Antonio.
Absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
So
but you're also not a pedophile writing music about pedophilia, essentially.
At all. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, most of my music comes from me escaping and becoming an artist.
Absolutely.
And all my gangster music.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not a gangster out here living the street life and shit.
Yeah.
But I did drop an album that was personal to me, the Antonio album.
Which fantastic album, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. That's the one I was we talked about it, but that was the one.
That, man.
That was the one. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because so many, and I mean no disrespect once again, but so many, I know local artists want to take their music seriously, but they're doing it in their own bubble.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's good music to them. You know, what you do is you make good music, period.
Thank you.
Like point blank period.
Thank
like
you, man.
It's good for everybody. It's not just good for an Iowa artist.
Yeah,
right?
thank you, man.
You know, you have some songs that I could see on the top 40. You know, I could hear it on the top 40.
Yeah.
You know, most people just say, "Oh, well, I'm doing good for Iowa or Cedar Rapids."
You should never set the bar there.
Yeah, you just don't
and
limit yourself.
You know what? And like I said, I'm just picking gems up from you, but I think that's my issue with DJing. Like, I know I'm a good Iowa DJ.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm not trying to be a great DJ worldwide.
Right.
But when it comes to rap, and like you said, I need to correlate. It's all music.
Yeah, it's all music.
So when it comes to rap, I need to be the best rapper, better than Jay-Z, Lil Wayne.
Absolutely.
Those are the people I'm looking at to beat, not other Iowa artists.
Right.
You know, like,
and that's, I mean, you got to start somewhere. I get it. So like, hey, you see your your peers are your competitors. You know. So I got to beat you guys before I can get to those. But I've always known your goal.
Yeah, it's always been that. It's never been local.
And with DJs, with DJing, you know, that's one thing I respect about you as far as that's concerned, is that you know exactly your place, right? And you're not trying to be something you're not. You're not using Spotify saying you're a real DJ. Not to say anybody that's doing that is not, but kind of.
We're going to have to break this episode into two parts.
We are.
Part one is stepping out and standing out. Yeah. Part two is no disrespect. I mean no disrespect.
It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So my number one, if you haven't already got the hints, Michael Jackson. So if you know me, that was... When I first started DJing, people knew me for two reasons. They knew that I could dance, and they knew that I loved Michael Jackson. And my obsession with Michael Jackson really started in about 2008.
That late?
Yeah. I had known Michael Jackson before. I had heard Billie Jean. I had heard these songs.
When you mentioned in the beginning of the episode that, which will now be episode 1, you mentioned that you grew up dancing to music videos. Yeah. I imagine those videos were Michael Jackson.
They were. Thriller.
Okay.
In particular.
Yep, that's what I thought.
So my dad had a VHS of Michael Jackson's Dangerous tour from Budapest when he performed there. And Michael was such a theatrical performer that he would put magic into his, he would put, you know, like the Thriller thing was he disappeared at one point. He flew off to Man in the Mirror at the end in a jetpack, or at least the illusion was there that he did. So I would like literally stare at that, but it didn't cause an obsession. What really caused an obsession is I was working for a local HVAC company called Climate Engineers. And I was already a super outcast. You know, I'm half black. I like rap music where everybody else likes, you know, hard rock or like 80s rock. I don't fish, I don't hunt, you know, which is all they wanted to talk about. You know, I don't drink a lot of beer, which is all they wanted to talk about. So I already felt like an outcast. But one thing that happened, so I was working at the shop at the time. This is like right around 2008. And I think between 12 and 1 o'clock, the radio, it was an oldie station, but they would take a year in history and play the top 10 songs of that year. So one year they did 1983, and that was the year MJ was everywhere. Thriller had just came out. Billie Jean came on. It was the #1 song at the time. So I heard the song as an adult for the first time and really paid attention to it. And I was like, this is
he was dealing with real life
phenomenal.
Shit. Yeah. And able to make it so commercial and so good. And the sounds that he makes in music, you can't teach somebody that. So of course, Michael's the GOAT of it. Someone else that I almost want to make, if I was to do my personal list, someone I would include is Life Jennings. His R&B got me through like one of the toughest breakups I've ever listened to. It was so relatable, so good, and that raspy voice, it sings so well. But the comparison, and there's really no comparison because Michael's up there. But the comparison, I will say, one song in particular, his song Ayo Busy. He does this weird fucking sound, and as an artist, I appreciate it. But Ayo, you can't write that down. That is. There's a few takes before you get it's a ooh. No, that ain't it. That ain't it. Hey yo, and then someone else said, "That's it. Fucking do that."
Record.
So, but I feel like Michael, that shit came natural. It was the he's, the all that.
Everything
you can't
he did
talk or teach that. It's amazing.
So, and then on a personal level, me and him, our lives are very, very similar. You know, I feel like my upbringing, I lost a lot of my childhood, and that's why I made a lot of mistakes that I made when I was an adult. Just like he lost his childhood. You know, but we both came from big families. You know, he had 7 other siblings. I have 9. We both are black families. You know, which causes, as you know, you know, I was raised black, even though I look white. I get it. But it was those type of things where I felt once I heard Billie Jean and I went back into the history and I learned all this stuff about him, I was like, this is my dude. And then the music just speaks for itself.
And it's songs that I never really
Joe's
got
Witnesses.
in touch
We both
with.
grew up as Joe's Witnesses as well.
So a song I never really not cared for but didn't appreciate as much is like Black or White. So that's something you would appreciate. Have You Seen My Childhood? Didn't care for that song. That's something you can relate to. That's I love. I always try to say music is the one universal language that we all speak. And I love that songs touched you certain ways that didn't necessarily get me, but I felt like I had the same appreciation for Michael.
One of the songs you mentioned, You Are Not Alone, it was funny because we had a dog die in like 95 and where we buried that dog, we played You Are Not Alone.
Oh yeah, I will cry on this podcast right now.
That was one of those moments. Like I said, we have moments where we remember certain things, and especially with me, Michael was such. You know, my mom loved Michael. They were in that era. You know, that's one thing I wish I was old enough, but not old enough. I'm glad I'm not. But if I was old enough to see how big he really got, you know, when he was more famous than Jesus. You know what I mean? But then coming from a childhood star, the only thing, you know, I like to say, the only thing, you know, I do dance. I think I'm really good at it. But the only thing that me and him don't have in common is he can sing and dance a lot better than me, right? But otherwise, like I said, growing up as a Joe's Witness, he did that. I did that as well. So all these different things just, and then the music itself. I mean, throw Man in the Mirror on. Tell me one person that doesn't know every word to that song. You know what I mean?
So amazing.
He just reached so many people with his music, you know, and then so many people have such a bad connotation to his legacy. And that's
I
unfortunate.
love that they debunked that bullshit documentary.
1000%.
Like, how the fuck does that even come out? And then it's like, oh, they lied. Why fucking delete
Duh.
this shit then?
Yeah.
Get rid of this shit. Don't fucking.
I didn't even watch it. I'll be honest. I didn't even watch
either,
that.
but
because
I watched all the news behind it. I watched Oprah go in on it and all that shit. And then it came out. I was like, oh, she better issue the biggest fucking apology.
Absolutely.
Like, that shit just makes me so
some people might listen to
mad.
this and think, oh, why is he going to hate on R. Kelly, but not Michael Jackson? Well, one is because Michael didn't talk in his music about the accusations that were there, and plus two, those were only accusations.
Yep. He beat
he
his
never
shit.
got
He beat his
convicted.
cases.
He never
One
R. Kelly's in jail right now because of what he did.
And his documentary is all victims
And it's
for
straight
real,
up
and they
real-
can prove.
realness. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So-
I did watch his documentary.
Yeah, me too.
'Cause I needed to hate him because I loved his music so
Absolutely,
much. And it was a big part of my life.
I do, it's a hard thing for me too. I mean, the one song that I would even cave on possibly is Remix to Ignition. Because it's not
I
talking
definitely-
about
Step in the Name of the Love for
step
me. Is
in the name. That
that's
could be one
hard if
too.
I get
That could be one
requested
too.
to
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be requested for me though.
Yep.
Like specifically, if
Yeah.
somebody says play R. Kelly, it's a personal decision. I don't play
Yeah,
R.
but
Kelly.
if you got
But if
one
you
song,
say
it's- yeah.
those two songs, then I'll be likely to
and
play.
throw
them.
in like a 20 or 50. No.
Yeah. Well, tips are very appreciated.
Right. No.
But yeah, so those are the ones, and maybe that's a little tidbit of
Yeah.
information. But there are some, like, it's hard because he was such a big part of my life too. I grew up listening to him, and then once I found out, his influence on MJ or his influence on Aaliyah or his influence on, all these other artists, he has, his DNA all over.
Yeah.
Like, how could you not? But then to hear everything that happened and for it to be true and him to get convicted, it was like, man, like, what a legacy destroyed.
And so it's funny. I'll relate this to this, and then we'll transition to the last part of the podcast.
Sure,
this
sure.
is the greatest. This is definitely the greatest episode I've had. I
Thank you.
love this. This is my
Yeah.
favorite.
All right.
But the similarity is, I'm a big wrestling guy. Hulk Hogan was my
Nerd.
fucking hero. Whatever. I'll be that nerd. Nerds are cool now, by the way.
It is trendy. It is very trendy to be a nerd now.
I love wrestling, and
Sure.
I grew up. Hulk Hogan was my icon, my hero, and to hear him go on that rant, dropping the N word.
Yeah.
Have you heard it?
Yeah.
I had to listen to it
That
because
was
he was.
crazy.
I own every action figure. I own the
Ugh,
doll.
man.
I watched every movie, and like.
Oh,
to
man.
to see all this time to you, I'm a fucking nigger. Like, oh my daughter's fucking the nigger, and this like that hurt so fucking
I bet,
much,
man.
Like I was destroyed, and I fucking hate him. Like he was in Florida during my wedding at his store, and like I would have gave anything as a child to go see Hogan. And
Absolutely.
it's like, fuck, dude, if I see him, I should spit on him. Like, fuck you, bitch.
That's
you
tough,
betrayed
man.
me. Like I would have invested so much in you and who you are,
Yeah.
and to know that I'm less than a person. So this is something I did want to talk about. I was like, maybe we'll do another episode, but this one's going to be like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So, you being biracial and growing up, we won't go into the situation, but there's something that I will never, ever lose respect for you, no matter what happens between me and you and how they try to pin us against each other. But there was one time where you stood up for me in a racial situation, and it meant the world to me. And it also showed me that I also need to stand on shit. Because a lot of times in the entertainment industry, I do have to like take it to the chin. It's like, fuck, this is business.
Right.
I have to be professional, PR. I can't react. And there was a time you've even stood up and defended me. And we won't go into that time, but I just want you to know how much I appreciate that as a black man.
Absolutely.
As somebody that looks to you as a mentor
Sure.
and as guidance. And since then, I've made changes and addressed situations where normally it's like, it's just business. I gotta deal with this. Like, for instance, and we'll bring it back to DJing, and then I want your comments
Sure.
on it. I don't play Gold Digger by Kanye West. Do you know why?
Because everybody will say that word.
Everyone.
That's why I play the
says it.
clean version.
That makes it worse. Because when it
almost
pauses
does,
and
I
they
get it.
still do
I
it,
know.
and there's a lot of Beckys and Karens in
Yeah.
that crowd, nothing hurts more.
Yeah.
And I gotta continue
Karens
to
and Beckys.
entertain this fucking audience.
Yeah, that's tough.
That shit hurts.
That-
So I
yeah.
refuse to play that record
see
for
that.
that reason. But I've been in parties where you can hear everyone saying it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to. I want to close my eyes right now, but I can hear your voice isn't
Yeah.
of the right color to be saying that. And
There's one song that I don't like to play, and it's Play That Funky Music, White Boy.
you don't like to play that?
Because I'm
I
not white.
love that. But it would have a different effect on you
because
because
I'm-
people
I'm a
have
different-
confused
people-
you. I wouldn't
people-
confuse you, but
right.
people have. So yeah, I wouldn't even want to
Yeah,
entertain that.
that's,
That's interesting.
Because I'm so I grew up black.
Yeah.
You know, I know I look white, but I grew up black, and there's not nobody in the world that can tell me different. And I'm unapologetically black too. Like I'm proud of my black qualities. I'm proud of my white qualities as well.
Yeah.
But my black qualities, and I don't mean to get stereotypical with it, but I think a lot of my best qualities are my black side, if I can say that.
Yeah.
But I also think because I definitely have a different perspective on race because I am so light that, and I said light with an L, not white. I am so light that white people will say whatever they want to say around me. I've had situations where they've said,
the N-word?
yeah,
or
no. So here's a situation where you might not know. So I worked for Climate Engineers when they were doing the renovation of Kinnick, when I did the new press box and all that. I worked on that job with them. The general contractor. So this is a very, very white dominated trade, right? All trades are white dominated.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, let me just be honest. It's not a place for a minority, really, even though it pays well. Like, I was making $19 an hour at the age of like 20. You know, good money, I thought. In third year apprentice, if I would have stayed one more year, I would have been making $35 an hour. You know, but on this job, not only was I was eating lunch with people that were calling. So the general contractor was literally from Africa. So he had the accent. He was literally from there. Yeah. So I heard things like porch monkey. I heard things like, all this shit that they were saying about him because he's black. So at some point, and then not only that, but I can't even, go to the bathroom without seeing the N-word written all over the porta potties. You know?
Hell no.
So at one point it was like, I'm not gonna sell myself or sell my soul just to make some money here. So I ended up quitting that job. Like I said, 8 months away from being $35 an hour. Damn. Now it would probably be closer to 40, 45. But it was not worth it for me. I'm not. And then when I worked for DirecTV, there was a time where I was in somebody's house, and actually I remember this vividly because Shamar Haynes I posted something and he posted it back asking me what I meant. So I was at this place and it was a service call, so I was just fixing something at his house. I had to have him go on customer service and call them about something. And they outsourced all their customer service to India or something like that. So once again, I found out that black people can tell I'm black, but white people don't know the difference, right? So in this house, it was a white guy, an older white guy, and it was a mobile home, which I guess doesn't necessarily matter. But anyways, he gets on the phone with these people, and he can't understand what they're saying because they're talking in their accent or whatever. So he's getting super frustrated. And I'm just doing my job. I was really good at what I did. I think I won Tech of the Year that year. But anyways, as I was walking out, he said the N-word about, and not to me, but in regards to the person on the phone, not knowing, and we can get political about it because I do think Trump kind of made that okay, unfortunately. Compared to Obama, like the racists were kind of more hidden, whereas Trump kind of opened that can of worms almost. But it kind of stopped me for a second when he said that, and it made me like, should I defend myself? What should I do? At the same time, I'm wearing DirecTV, all of my clothes. So I kind of took it to the chin and walked out. And then I got in the van and I posted on Facebook and I said, sometimes I wish I was just a little bit darker, not tan, but just darker, where people, no matter white, black, whatever you are, you could tell that I'm black, and Shamar Haynes said something like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, well, I just had this situation where because I'm lighter, that people think they can just say stuff like that around me and not know. Because I don't want to announce to everybody, hey, by the way, guys,
this person, you are
by the way, I'm black. My dad's darker than black. My mom just won the gene pool, evidently. Or so it's definitely a thing that I just felt like in your situation, it was I felt like not only were this person was disrespecting me, but they were a guest on the podcast and they were disrespecting. They were saying something controversial about a very controversial, and this person was white, so that you shouldn't have an opinion, especially a controversial opinion about slavery. When, like I said, we don't have to get into details, but it was a very it was more or less like I wanted to make a point that it was wrong, you know, at the end of the day, and I hope that that's what I did.
Yeah.
So
and the person
to know that
definitely
it made,
reached out, apologized.
Yeah,
and,
reached out.
And that,
yeah,
that was why
absolutely.
it was easy for me to take it to the chin, because it's like, oh, I know this person. I know they're not racist.
Right,
and I know
right.
Blah, blah, blah. So I
Right.
didn't take offense to it. You know, they were just speculating. But there are some conversations where you shouldn't have a say.
They're just,
You don't have a say with me.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
choose this time to be the time that you have
Well,
a
that's
say.
why.
Like,
That's why that was almost way bad way to say that. But you know, when George Floyd happened, right? That was in a weird way. I would never be glad that something like that happened, but I was glad that something promoted white people to ask questions.
Yeah.
Right? I felt like I talked to more white people about race and how I felt and how we think.
Yeah.
That before than any of my life.
Yeah.
You know, nobody ever asked me, you know, how I felt about what happened, you know, to Trayvon Martin or what happened to Rodney King or you know, list goes on and on. But that was the first time people were like, yo, I want to have a conversation with you about how I should feel or what I should be doing. You know, am I thinking the wrong way? And these are all white people. And it was like, this is the first time. So it almost was, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise because obviously rest in peace. But it was, I had a lot of much needed conversations that needed to be had. You know, you might have had the same thing where you were talking to people more than you had ever done before. Because this stuff happens every week, it seems like. But that was the first time that it was like, wait a minute, I want to sit you down and have this conversation with you.
They were open to the conversation.
Yeah.
People were asking,
and they were just
what can I
listening.
do better.
You know?
They're finally hearing.
Yeah,
us.
they were finally
it took
listening.
A man
Right.
losing his life by his neck being set on.
So
for
in a
8
weird
minutes.
way, you know, it had to happen. And like I said, I'm not glad that it did, but it kind of had to happen for us to be able to have those human conversations because we all are human.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, slavery and racism is a part of the history. But I think that went a step in the right direction, and we got 1,000 steps to go.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But I think it was a huge moment in our history as far as turning that narrative around a little bit.
Man, this was everything I wanted it to be and more. We got one more thing to lighten the mood. It's going to be fun, interesting. So I'm going to probably put the top 5 in episode 1, and this will be episode 2.
Okay.
This is called This or That. I need to make some theme music for that. I don't have theme music for this or that yet.
I hear Jeopardy or something.
Yeah.
Or like circus music. I don't know.
They're probably like, how the fuck are these guys going for 2 hours?
Yeah.
I couldn't have cut this short. And like, I was like, fuck, we're going to have to come back just to talk. But no, we got it. And I think
hey, I'm more than willing to be on this more.
Next is, is us doing one together.
Yeah,
or
sure.
When you start yours, please have me on as a guest. I absolutely, do you know my friend Sarah Van Cleve?
I saw you posted about her. I don't think I recognize her.
She is biracial and has the same views as you about a lot of things. And she was adopted, and she runs.
You dated her at one point, right?
I did. We were gonna leave that out. He said, "Let's just cut the shit." Were you guys doing?
I'm just proving that I read the post.
Okay,
you know, not just being one of those guys that say I saw the post.
Look, I'm like, she's a yoga instructor, and love of my life, and but no, she's somebody I really want you to meet and just have a conversation with. But she has a really good podcast about race and just everything, and
awesome.
a little bit of politics and stuff. So I want to get you guys in a room together and sit down and chat. And
I've been meaning to come to one of your shows too. Obviously, you know, I have weddings and gigs and stuff that I'm doing, but the 106 and
they're so much
T106, those I bet they are. So I've been meaning to come to one of those.
Well, if I can afford you, I'll definitely book you to.
Well, I mean, not as just as a guest.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to necessarily DJ.
But I think it'd be cool to have you. That way.
I'm always down to play some music, but I think because 106 and Park was such a monumental part of my life. You know, so for you to do that was really cool. One thing maybe I'll mention to you, I think it would be fun to do is do like lip sync battles.
Oh.
I think Commando.
That's fun with karaoke, though. You know how I feel about karaoke.
Well, at least now we're not ruining the music.
Facts.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the
You don't
music.
have to-
You don't have
yeah.
to sing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's just who can perform the song better, you know, or who comes up with the costumes. And
What I really want to do for local artists is verses.
Versus?
I love the versus concept, and I
Man.
think if we did that on a local level, I think that would help promote people. It'd
Yeah.
be fun, but I'd rather participate than run it.
Yeah.
And it seems like I always have to fucking run it because
it'd
no
be
one else
hard.
does.
It'd be hard to do it. Yeah, I mean,
We should brainstorm it.
yeah,
I think that shit would be
there's
fun.
definitely something in that. But
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Commando at one point was gonna be doing something, lip sync something,
Yeah.
and it ended up getting canceled at the last minute. And I was like, man, I really wish you would have done that.
I think if we put the right people like me, you, Commando, Bryant together, there's really no limitations.
See, but
on
I'm
what
I'm
we
throwing
can
this out there that I think there's nobody out there that can out lip sync me.
That's a challenge.
Nobody. Nobody's gonna perform these songs better
Can you
than me.
reveal what songs you would do?
Oh, name one. I mean, from Michael Jackson to Nelly to
Look at me now.
Drake to I mean, I'd wear the eye bandage for Nelly. I mean, Nelly was my shit when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, I know every song of his.
Yeah.
But that's why my name's DJ VerbaTim.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why. Not only does it have my name in it,
Yeah.
Tim, but I know lyrics. That was, you know, when I said it, there was a couple things people knew about me. It was dancing, Michael Jackson, and why do you know all these lyrics?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, songs that I just have a talent of being able to know lyrics after 1-2 times hearing a song.
Yeah.
It just happens easily for me. So yeah, I think that I'm throwing the gauntlet down right now that I don't think anybody can out lip sync me.
It's out there. It's out there.